Hey there, and welcome to Hot Tea and Storytime. I'm thrilled to have you here. If you're new to the channel, here's what we're all about. Pour yourself a story, one cup at a time. This is the place where you can sit back, sip on something warm, and let the world of storytelling sweep you away. Whether you're here for a quick escape or a cozy night in, you're in for a treat. If you enjoyed today's story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That way, you'll always be in the loop for new stories. Plus, it helps us keep this storytelling community growing. So, pour yourself a cup, settle in, and let's dive into today's story. I think you're going to love it. Beneath coffee-stained skies, a story of unexpected kindness, quiet courage, and a love that blossoms in the most unassuming places. Meet Jane Meadow, a young artist with dreams as vivid as her sketches and a heart shaped by a quiet resilience. Between long shifts at a local cafe and late night studying, Jane works tirelessly to support herself and to bring a little beauty into the world. One evening, Jane performs a small act of kindness, helping an elderly man struggling with a vending machine. Little does she know, this simple gesture catches the attention of someone far beyond her world. Alexander Whitmore, a wealthy CEO known for his reserved demeanor and structured life. But it's not just Alexander who takes note of Jane's kindness. It's his grandfather, a wise soul who sees in Jane a warmth and sincerity that could change his grandson's life. Through chance encounters, a shared project, and a few cups of coffee, Jane and Alexander's paths begin to intertwine. She brings simplicity and authenticity to his world. He offers her a glimpse of something she'd only dreamed of. As they navigate their growing connection, each is challenged to look past assumptions and open their heart to the unknown. Beneath coffee-stained skies takes us on a journey through cozy cafe moments and high society galas, showing that sometimes love appears where we least expect it, and that a single act of kindness can change everything. So settle in with a cup of coffee and prepare to be swept into beneath coffee-stained skies, where two lives, worlds apart, discover that the truest love grows from the simplest acts. Beneath coffee-stained skies. In a cozy corner of the city, beneath coffee-stained skies, we meet Jane Meadow, a young woman with dreams as rich as the aromas filling the air of the small cafe where she works. Between long shifts at the counter and late-night studying, Jane has her hands full, but her heart holds something softer: hope. Jane is an artist, her sketches capturing the beauty of a world she wishes she could share more freely. And though her reality often seems confined to the warm hum of the cafe, she clings to her dreams of a life where her art and her kindness could bring a little more light to those around her. One quiet evening, after a long shift, Jane is wiping down tables, counting out tips with fingers a bit more tired than usual. It's then that she notices an elderly man at the vending machine outside, fumbling with the buttons, his hands trembling ever so slightly. In that split second, without thinking twice, Jane digs into her pocket for her last dollar. She hesitates briefly, but kindness, for her, is never a question. She slips the dollar into the machine, pressing the button for him and handing him a bottle of water with a gentle smile. "Thank you, young lady," the man says, a note of surprise mixed with gratitude in his voice. He pauses, studying her with a thoughtful smile, as if her small act of kindness is something he's rarely seen, or maybe something he remembers fondly. "The world could use more kindness like yours," he tells her. Jane offers a modest nod, completely unaware that this elderly man, who now walks away into the night, is none other than the grandfather of Alexander Whitmore, a man who is about to change the course of her life. The very next day, a surprise awaits Jane. Her college has announced a partnership with Whitmore Enterprises, a rare internship opportunity for students needing financial support. Though she's hesitant, this world of gleaming glass and marble seems as foreign as the stars. Jane knows that this could be her chance, and so she applies, hoping her hard work might open a door. When Jane steps into Whitmore Enterprises for the first time, her breath catches. The lobby is polished and grand, a world apart from her humble cafe. Everything here seems intimidatingly pristine, yet she's determined to find her place. As she looks around, her gaze lands on a familiar face, the elderly man from the vending machine. Beside him stands a tall figure with sharp features, exuding an air of confidence and control. He's striking, with a cool demeanor that seems untouched by the world around him. As the elderly man notices her, his face lights up with recognition, and he motions her over with a knowing smile. "Jane, this is my grandson, Alexander," he introduces, a hint of mischief in his eyes. "She's the young woman I mentioned yesterday, the one who helped me without expecting a thing." Earlier that day, Theodore, Alexander's grandfather, happened to stumble upon a folders of list of applicants on Alexander's table. He was looking forward to meeting Jane and to introduce her to Alexander. Alexander's polite smile shifts, his gaze resting on her a moment longer than expected. He's used to people seeking something from him, accustomed to a world where kindness often has a price. But here is someone who gave freely, unaware of his wealth or status. Something about her stirs a curiosity he hasn't felt in years. But Jane? She's focused, reminding herself she's here to work, to make a better life, not to get lost in enigmatic glances. As the days pass, Jane's work brings her closer to Alexander, who has agreed to mentor her on the project. Their interactions are professional at first, yet Jane's warmth draws others to her, and soon even the most formal employees find themselves sharing small moments of conversation with her. Alexander observes this quietly. Jane seems to see the people around her, noticing things others overlook. He begins to realize that her presence, her empathy, her approach to life is somehow grounding, and though he doesn't show it, something within him starts to change. One evening, Theodore visits the cafe, ordering a plain black coffee and striking up a conversation with Jane. His gaze is warm as he asks her about her life, her dreams, what drives her. Jane hesitates. Then, in a quiet moment of trust, she shares a piece of her heart. "I guess I'm here for my mom, really. She's the one who taught me to see beauty in simple things. I want to give her a life where she doesn't have to choose between joy and necessity." The elderly man nods, his eyes kind. "You remind me of someone I loved very much," he says softly. She, too, believed in the simple things. He pauses, looking at her with a wisdom that only years can bring. "The world needs people like you, Jane. Don't ever let anyone convince you otherwise." The night of the gala arrives. Jane stands in awe of the opulence surrounding her. The shimmer of chandeliers, the murmurs of laughter, and the scent of luxury perfume filling the air. She feels out of place, but puts on a brave face, ready to represent herself. Spotting her from across the room, Alexander's grandfather offers his arm, leading her into the crowd with a reassuring smile. And as they move through the room, Alexander's gaze finds her. Something pulls him toward her, a feeling he's not used to, a quiet admiration. He asks her for a dance, and she accepts. As they sway to the soft melody, he leans closer, his voice low. "I don't remember the last time I wanted to be around someone, just to be around them." Jane's heart flutters, but reality intrudes. This isn't her world, she reminds herself, and she gently pulls away, murmuring, I can't lose myself in something that isn't real. Alexander watches her slip into the crowd, a lingering sadness in his eyes. Across the room, his grandfather observes, understanding the cost of what he himself once lost in pursuit of status. In the days following the gala, Alexander finds himself restless. He confides in Theodore, who listens carefully before speaking words that echo in Alexander's heart. If you truly care for her, Alexander, you'll have to step out of your world. Love is sometimes about leaving your comfort behind. That evening, Alexander arrives at the cafe where Jane is working. She's caught off guard as he awkwardly orders a coffee, fumbling with change, a stark contrast to his usual controlled demeanor. It's then that he meets her gaze, his voice softer than she's ever heard. Jane, he begins, I don't know what it's like to live like you do, but I want to. I want to understand your world if you'll let me. Her heart skips as she takes in his words. She sees a genuine vulnerability in his eyes, something unguarded, something real. Are you sure? She asks, her voice carrying both hope and hesitancy. His reply is simple, yet certain. I've never been more sure. In the months that follow, Jane and Alexander begin a journey together, one rooted in shared understanding and quiet moments. Alexander learns to find joy in simplicity, like a cup of plain coffee or the peaceful hum of the cafe, and Jane discovers a love she had almost given up on. Years later, they sit together in the cafe, hands intertwined. The memory of Alexander's grandfather lingers, his wisdom and warmth a quiet blessing over their lives. In a world that once kept them apart, they have found, beneath coffee-stained skies, that sometimes the truest love is born from the simplest acts. And that's it for today's story. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. There's nothing quite like getting lost in a good tale, right? Thank you so much for joining me here on Hot Tea and Storytime. If you liked today's story, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. This way, you'll be the first to know whenever there's a new story brewing, and you'll help our storytelling community grow. I'd love to see you back here for the next one, so make sure to pour yourself a cup, get comfortable, and join me for another story soon. Until next time, take care and happy listening.